Have you guys ever been to the circus? Probably you have. Perhaps you've seen a circus at least once in your life. They travel from major city to major city, setting up shop and putting on shows. They're usually only around for a few days and then they're off to their next big show. The circus is a nice oddity. It's something you don't get to see very often, and when it's in town you can really get captivated by all of its splendor. Or at least, that's for a good circus. There are also bad ones, and let me tell you, they are super awkward. Back in the 30s and 40s, the circus was not a good place to be. It was entertaining, but it wasn't exactly wholesome. Let's call it counterculture entertainment, I guess. I won't comment too much on the subject, but let's just say that there's a reason why people write so many horror stories about these kinds of places. Legend has it that Walt Disney was inspired by the depravity of the 1940s theme parks to build Disneyland, which he viewed as a haven for more family-oriented entertainment. But that's just a legend. Don't come at me in the comments or whatever. I don't actually care. So here we are in the 1940s, and Cap wants some entertainment. So what's he gonna do? Well, the circus is in town. Unfortunately, we can see here that this circus is being led by a rather nefarious villain known as the Ringmaster of Death, and any hopes that Cap had of having a good time are just gonna fall to the wayside in favor of his evil plans. And also, apparently, a tiger, which is somehow involved. Also, note that the giant swastika on his top hat means he's probably telling of Nazi affiliation. So take a good look at his face, because you're going to recognize him all through Marvel Comics history. The Ringmaster originates here. This is his first appearance, but he has a long history in which he causes trouble for a great many heroes, well into the Silver Age of comics and even into the Bronze Age. The story goes that he runs this circus, basically. It's known as the Circus of Crime, and he's always leading a group of circus performers who always sort of double as his criminal posse. And they go from town to town with their circus troupe, just robbing people and committing crimes. And this gives the character a kind of mobility. He needs to travel around and appear in various stories with different heroes. The only thing that really changes here is his troupe of criminals. You know, he always has a different cadre of interesting villains with him. He's worked with strong men and snake charmers and clowns and acrobats and even a human cannonball. Anyway, every major hero has battled the Circus of Crime at some point in their careers, but it all originates right here in this groundbreaking issue, so let's check it out. So it all starts with a nice day at the circus. Cap and Bucky are having a swell old time exploring the fairgrounds. But across the way, in a secret tent, we see the Ringmaster has a devious plan at play. He has this spinning wheel with all these different faces on it, and he's using it to determine who he's going to kill. Unfortunately, the wheel chooses an army general, and so now the Ringmaster must formulate a plan to kill him. He summons the circus midgets to do his bidding, but the midget wants nothing to do with this violence, so the Ringmaster uses his whip to entice the midget into action. As a result, the midget goes out and unlocks the tiger's cage, an action which will have disastrous consequences. It's important to note that this version of the Ringmaster is unnaturally cruel, even more than his later renditions. In fact, he uses abhorrent cruelty to keep his circus in line and under control, as is the case with his midget. Now the tiger is loose and is literally eating people. The army general doesn't stand a chance against the ferocious beast and is immediately killed. This looks like a job for Captain America and Bucky, so they change their clothes and jump into the fray. Using his still sinewed muscles, Captain America grabs the tiger and with vicious force snaps its neck. Meanwhile, Bucky chases after the cowardly midget but is knocked out by a pitiful thug. However, these thugs are no match for Cap himself, and he easily dispatches them, even going as far as locking one of them in the tiger's cage. It's at this point that the Circus of Crime realizes they're not messing with any common chump. When it comes to Captain America, they run back to the Ringmaster with the tail between their legs, and Cap and Bucky decide to return to base and formulate their next move. However, when Steve Rogers shows up from a wild night at the circus, Sergeant Duffy is furious and forces him and Bucky to a full day of peeling potatoes. The special agent Betty Ross shows up and Steve tells her that the general's death was not an accident and that she should investigate. Meanwhile, we can see that the Ringmaster is ready to choose his next victim using the wheel. This time, it's the defense commissioner who absolutely must die. So it's also at this point where we learn the motivation for the Ringmaster to commit these crimes. He's been essentially promised by Hitler that if he destabilizes America, he will be installed as the new ruler of America, kind of like a king of the West or whatever, while Hitler rules Europe. Of course, the same lesson we learned from the Unholy Legion still rings true here. Never abide by the promises of a madman. They never keep their word, and you will end up worse off than you were if you had just, I don't know, dedicated yourself to a job, hard work, and committed goals. This is in fact doubly true when it comes to the Ringmaster, because though I think he is personally cool in a concept as a villain, and he carries a deep history which reaches all the way back to the Golden Age, he still never reached the heights of villainy that others did, such as Kingpin or Doctor Doom. He's a loser now, and he will always be a loser. So now the Ringmaster summons in henchmen, and he's giving them orders, and he basically has this assassination squad with a strongman, a snake charmer, and some acrobats. And together, utilizing all their unique skills, they succeed in getting into the defense commissioner's home and killing him with a snake's venomous bite. Unfortunately for them, Betty Ross does happen to be passing through, and she notices the assassins doing their deadly work. They try to silence her because the Ringmaster just doesn't like witnesses, but unfortunately, Captain America happens to be around, and he rescues her. The fight doesn't even last long because Cap has superior might and just makes short work of them. This is except for the strongman. His powerful muscles equal the might of the super soldier serum, and with a thunderous hook, he's able to actually temporarily knock Cap unconscious, allowing everyone to make their escape. But not only do they escape, but they take Betty Dean with them. It's at this point that Cap and Bucky deduce full well that the circus is responsible for these murders, and they run off to stop them. However, this is fortunate actually for the Ringmaster because his Wheel of Death has actually chosen its next victim. It's chosen Captain America. So I want to stop and recognize that the character of Special Agent Betty Ross, she is a reoccurring character in Captain America comics, and some of you have probably noticed her in previous stories. Others have probably recognized her by her name and wondered if she was the same Betty Ross who happened to be the inconsistent girlfriend of Bruce Banner, the Incredible Hulk. Unfortunately, this is not the same Betty Ross. This is a completely different Betty Ross who is not at all related to Thunderbolt Ross. This version of Betty is a special agent working with the FBI. She does tons of work catching criminals and spies. In fact, she was attached to Project Rebirth. If you remember back to Cap's origin issue, when they reached the secret entrance to the Super Soldier Lab, Betty Ross was the agent that was disguised as the old woman. She was the one protecting the entrance. She's been at the series since the very beginning. So actually, keen comic book fans will know that eventually Betty Ross herself would achieve superpowers and be upgraded from a side character into a full-time hero, as is the case with various other side characters in comic book history. I won't tell you much about what hero she becomes, but you can bet your ass I'll be covering it in a future video. So Cap and Bucky show up at the circus in the middle of the night, and things are eerily quiet. The Ringmaster has Betty in his possession, as well as a full circus worth of deadly criminals on his side, so it appears that he is holding all the cards in this conflict. In fact, it turns out this is exactly what he wants, because in mere seconds, Cap and Bucky find themselves surrounded on all sides by vicious circus thugs. This is great for Cap, however, because now he can get his revenge on that dastardly strongman. He sends him flying with a serious, vicious blow unlike anything the strongman has ever endured. In fact, him and Bucky just mop up the entire circus. This leaves the Ringmaster alone. He ties Betty to his deadly trap and is just moments away from cutting the rope and letting her fall to her doom. This doesn't work, however, because Cap and Bucky just happen to be master acrobats. They catch her in the air and rescue her safely. This leaves the Ringmaster alone with no other tricks up his sleeve. And I think Steve takes some personal joy in just pounding his head in. Meanwhile, Bucky and Betty round up the rest of the gang, and all is well that ends well. Cap runs off to make his escape before the police arrive, and Betty doesn't even get a chance to say thank you. Oh well, maybe in their next adventure. And that's it. The Ringmaster is done, at least in this issue. Like all stubborn criminals, he will probably make bail and be out on the streets again in a matter of days. However, one thing is for sure, he's not going to want to tango with Cap anytime soon. Anyway, there's not much to say in closing here, so just know we're doing another vicious villain in the next one as Cap tries to solve a murder mystery. Of course, I'm talking about the mystery of the Hangman. Until next time, nerds, stay heroic.